to today's Blender Modifiers Ranked. So here I have a tier list and I'm going to rank every Blender modifier. So let's have a look. Alright, so I'm going to start with, I'm going to go from wave to data transfer, okay? Alright, so first wave. I have never used this in 3 years. I have no idea what this is, so D. Okay, so let me just explain. S is really good, A is pretty good, very good, B is very useful, C is useful, D is bad, F is not useful, never useful. You know what? Wave is never useful. I've never seen a single person use the wave modifier, so yeah, no, it's not useful. Warp. Never used it, but I mean, I've heard it's somewhat useful, so I'll put it at C. But again, I've never used it. Surface deform. Actually pretty useful, so I'll put it at C. Okay, smooth laplation. I mean, who uses these stupid modifiers? There's only like the 90% of the time you're only using 3 modifiers. That's subdiv, solidify, and I don't know, depending on what you do, bevel or mirror, or I don't know. Point is, no one uses this dumbass modifier. Smooth corrective, again, who the hell uses this? Smooth, never seen anyone use this. Simple deform, pretty useful actually. So yeah, that's pretty good. Shrink wrap, good modifier. I love shrink wrap. It's very useful in certain situations. I mean, you don't use the modifier a lot, but when you need it, it's there and it's really useful. Mesh deform. Never heard of it, never used it. Probably useful to someone. I mean, the name sounds useful, you know, mesh deform. But then there is the lattice modifier, which doesn't really make sense, because what's the point of a mesh deform modifier when there is a lattice modifier whose entire job is to deform a mesh based on a lattice? See, this is why the modifiers don't make sense. But lattice is a very good modifier. S tier. Never heard of this. F. Hook, never used it. F. Displace, this is also another very useful modifier. This is especially useful in environment art, so this is an A. Not only environments, like this is just generally a very useful modifier. When you need to make something seem more realistic and organic, what do? You add a displace modifier, add noise texture, and yeah, and it already looks more organic. Curve, I mean, it's alright. It's useful in certain situations. Cast, again, never heard of it. What the hell is a cast modifier? Armature. I mean, I hate rigging, so I've never used it in my entire life. But I mean, you need it, so A tier. It could be made better though. It's useful and you need it, but it isn't optimized, so that's what's A and not S. Wireframe, very useful in specific situations. B tier, never heard of that one. Volume to mesh. I wouldn't say it's a bad modifier, and especially in like the theory. And in theory, it is a very good modifier, but they implemented it in a very like weird way. It doesn't work. It's not integrated into the rest of Blender. It's kind of like geometry nodes and particle systems, like geometry nodes in general. It's not well integrated. It's useful, and theoretically speaking, it is an improvement, but like it's not integrated well into the other features. That's why it's a D tier. Volume to mesh. Triangulate, never had to use this because like I don't do game engines, but it's useful to someone, so B tier. Subdivision surface, S tier. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Without subdiv, I don't think any of us would be here today. It is, I mean, it's kind of like I would say it's the most used modifier in Blender. Solidify, S tier. Screw modifier, only used it once because of a Blender glue tutorial where I had to make a rope. See, it does its job. Remesh, useful in very certain situations, especially when you're dealing with like sculpts, or like it's a great way to remesh like an object that has been decimated, but like you can't like use the decimated object because of the terrible topology. So if you remesh it, it gives you a pretty decent topology that you can work with to remesh even further. But I don't use it that much because I do not like retopoing, and no one's gonna notice if there's an n-gon or a triangle in my render. But I guess if you're working in a professional pipeline, it is very, very useful. Multi-res, I only use this one sculpting, and I never sculpt, so I mean it does its job fine. B tier. Mirror, A tier, very, very useful. Mask, never heard of this, never used it. Geometry nodes. See, now this is complicated because the feature itself, geometry nodes as a feature, is a very, very good feature. It's interesting. It's a bit difficult, but it's interesting, and it has its use cases. But having it as a modifier is really stupid. Having geometry nodes as a modifier is like having particle systems as a modifier. You know, just it shouldn't be a modifier. It should have its own separate tab here. It's the way it's integrated is a D, but like the geometry nodes feature itself is A. I never use it because why would you ever need to use geometry nodes if you're an artist like me? I mean, I do VFX and environments and lighting. There's no reason for me to use geometry nodes. Particle systems for now do just fine. Edge split, again, theoretically good modifier, but why would you ever use it? There is already a shade auto smooth. There is no reason to use an edge split modifier. Like zero reasons to use it. Decimate, A tier. A lifesaver when it comes to photogrammetry scans and complicated objects that you need in the background. Like if I have like a really high poly car and like I want to have like some low poly ones in the background, I just decimate it, like type in 0.1 and it's ready to go. It's really good. Build, never used it. I've heard it's good for motion graphics artists, but I don't do MoGraph, so Boolean, S or A. It's B actually, because like it does its job okay, but like it's not integrated well, like geometry nodes. Like the tool is a little buggy, like not a little, very buggy sometimes, and there is a reason why I have the bool tool mod. Where is my bool tool? There we go. There is a reason why I have my bool tool modifier, which is free, by the way. It's very useful, and there is a reason why hard surface add-ons sell very well in the Blender market, because the hard surface modeling, especially like beveling in Blender, is not very well integrated. So sorry, Boolean, sorry, not bevel. Oh, speaking of bevel modifier, B, same situation like Boolean. It's passable, can be better. Never heard of this, never heard of that. Never heard of this either, but I mean, assuming it's like, I don't know, I've never used it, but UV warp sounds like something I would use more often than vertex weight mix, which is just a stupid name. UV project is useful in very certain situations, like in that one Ian Hubert tutorial, where he used it to project live footage onto geometry and have like the UV, like you track the camera. I'll just link the tutorial. It's very interesting. I'm sure you've all watched it. Alright, S tier, lifesaver. Never heard of that either. Weighted normal. Never heard of that. Never used it. What? No. What the hell? No. No. And no. These are all useless. I've never used it a single time in my life. Okay? Really, who the hell uses fucking weight sequence cache? What the hell is it? What the fuck is that even supposed to mean? Weight sequence cache? That's a stupid ass name. It doesn't explain anything about what the modifier. When you hear a modifier that's called array, you know what the fuck it's supposed to do. But when you hear a modifier that's called mesh sequence cache, you have no idea what that is even supposed to mean. And it's, I don't know, I've never used it. It's probably very stupid. That's it. That's my final tier list ranking. Yeah, I mean, thank you for watching. This was more of a stupid video. I promise I'll do I'll make a good video someday. I'll be back with a VFX breakdown, probably. I don't know, maybe a tutorial. I don't know. But